I hear it. Let's go, baby. Here we go. We're here live. I got some streams going in the back. I got my little delay here. So now we're in the main screen. You got Sean, if you're watching, you got Sean on your left, you got Wayne on your right. And I wanted to first, make sure we got our technicalities down because we know whenever we do the first of anything, we always got a little bit checking our volumes, checking our levels. But the only thing that matters right now is your energy level. I know Sean's always up and ready to go when it's time to talk about the silver and black. So, Sean, how are you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Just like everyone else inside, looking at the beautiful sky and just trying to keep my mind busy with my family. And man, I miss talking sports, so I'm really happy to be here, especially talk about the Raiders and Hawaii and anything in between as well.
Yeah, this is our first ever Hawaii sports fans Raiders live stream, and this is a way for those of you who might be fans of Sean or fans of the Raiders and don't know what Hawaii sports fans is. I'm a founder of Hawaii Sports Fans. My name is Wayne Cueto, and what I do is I like to take people on big adventures, sports adventures. So we go to NFL, NBA games. We went to the last five of the last six Super Bowls. I am a huge fan of the NFL. Above anything, I'm a fan of the sport, of the game. So I do have my teams as well, just like everybody else. But more than anything, it's talking about the game and how the game is really transcendent. In life, really, it's one of those things that bonds us all. So it doesn't matter your team. If you're just an NFL fan, if you're just a fan of football, if you're a fan of what it means to be a fan or just to have that kind of interaction with other people who love something, this is where I welcome you. So welcome to Hawaii Sports Fans, this platform. But I want to bring in Sean because Sean, I follow him on Twitter as well. He's a big Hawaii football fan as well. So that connection, that overlap that we have with Hawaii football is really what brought us together. But Sean and I both share that bond of just being really true fans, passionate to the core, where we just enjoy having, any conversations that we can to bring up anytime we can bring up our team, anytime that we can share our opinions. And Sean, if you follow him on Twitter, you'll see a bunch of those. So I have it under him as well, at Oahu _Raider 808. So you'll have our Twitter handles. Make sure you follow at HI Sports Fans, at Oahu Raider to get the latest scoops. But, Sean, we're going to start with you. And, just talk about your background, why you're a Raiders fan, what brought you to Hawaii, why you're a Hawaii fan. And I'll break you up. I'll stop you if we need to go because I know you said you like to talk. But, bro, I want people to get to know you, the guy, the true Raiders fan that's going to be sharing all his knowledge with us as well. Take it away.
No, right on. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Southern California mostly, about mid '90s. So, if you know anything about the Raiders, they popped back and forth, relocations too. And funny enough, this year is another time they're relocating. But it started in the mid '90s. A neighbor and his father had an extra ticket, brought me to a game, and this was at in Los Angeles where USC plays, and it took my breath away, the experience. Growing up loving football already, my dad played college football, and I grew up a Notre Dame fan from my family side. And the exposure to that environment just really clicked with me because it was just a rebellious feel, and the fans were crazy and loud. And it was just an environment I wasn't used to outside of watching football in the living room. So I absorbed that right away, and it just never stopped since then. So I'm like just as passionate as it can be with the Raiders. Like silver and black was something I would go to the Orange County Register growing up. I'd go to the back page because that's where the stats used to be. You wouldn't go online. So I'd grab a highlighter and I'd highlight Tim Brown's receiving stats,
Awesome.
Napoleon Kaufman's rushing stats. Just kind of keep up with the players and the names. And my parents saw that I really gravitated towards it. So, and then that takes me all the way through today. Being in my mid 30s, I have a family, and I still feel like a child when I talk about the Raiders and deal with it, that passion and connection. It's about being something you have no control over, but your loyalty is something that you kind of hang on your hat and you feel like you're a part of something. So I love it. I enjoy it. I came to Hawaii in 2004 as a full-time resident. enrolled at Kapilani Community College, transferred to the University of Hawaii, Manoa. I'm an alumni graduate 2010. I was spoiled. I went to University of Hawaii during the great June Jones era. I mean,
Good
I was
time to be
there.
there.
I was there with Cole Brennan and with those amazing seasons he put up, and so I really had a instant connection. I was supporting the program anyways, but they were at such a hierarchy of being in
Yeah.
these big bowl games and accomplishing such great things, and seeing they're out on ESPN, the cover of the magazine, and things like that. So it was just a fun time to go to Aloha Stadium and feel that vibe. That kind of brings me to where I am now. I still go to Aloha Stadium. I still go to Raider games when I can. And I just love football. I love being around it. I love the tailgates. I love the people. Of course, that's how I met you and many other people, is just going to tailgates and going to events and realizing how much you have in common with people over a sport. So it's pretty interesting.
And you talked about that that growing up in in Southern California, right? And when people think Raiders, especially younger ones, they don't really know that era, that LA era, right? And that's like, if you talk to somebody like Marcus Allen, right? He's like, I played for the LA Raiders, right? He won't even like acknowledge Oakland, because it's like that. I didn't play there, and it's one of those things. It's like I feel that because being in LA, the Raider bloodline is so strong here. I mean, really, the Raiders still own LA, own this market. And it's because of that. I think that era, that gritty era, that like Art Shell. I don't know. I see him just roaming the sidelines and being that like authoritative guy. And growing up, I'm a Chiefs guy, so growing up and that time when Marcus Allen came over to the Chiefs and making that rivalry even greater. So the Raiders, particularly with their Hawaii connection, though, you said it was that grittiness and that kind of dirtiness, that ruggedness that attracted you. Why do you think Hawaii people are so attracted? Why do you think there's so many people in Hawaii that are attracted to the Raiders?
I think because of the same thing. I mean, Hawaii has a very tough vibe, not just from longtime generational locals, but also, just Kanaka Hawaiians. Like, this was a warrior culture. These were people that relied on physical dominance, and there was this, this aura of a kingdom on people who were able to apply so much energy towards everything. I think what's cool about the Raiders with that is, like, you just see that mystique, that rebellious attitude, and it's kind of tough. I mean, you live in Hawaii, you know how it is. People are very, very proud of what they have. I mean, people are very proud of their families, their bloodlines. They take care of one another, so there's a protective element there. And I think, like, the Raiders, a lot of these people grew up watching, maybe they grew up in the era of the 70s where they just punked people and hit people late and, had this reputation for being just rebellious, tough people. And then going all the way into, like you said, the 90s. They were flashy. They were in LA, a big market. They all wore their sunglasses and they did their dances, and they just, they had, like you said, Marcus Allen in the Super Bowl, and a lot of the celebrities would wear Raiders gear because they were such an iconic image in LA at the time that really propelled a lot of what their image is today, is people that silver and black. And then shortly thereafter, you saw, like, the Los Angeles Kings hockey team, when they filed to start their franchise, they mirrored the same colors as the LA Raiders, which Al Davis didn't like. But,
I'm sure he didn't like that. No, not at all.
Yeah. But Hawaii perspective, I think I noticed that, when I moved here and as I live here, I just see that the same type of loyalty and toughness, and I think people identify with that here, more so than they would, like, the caveat of being a fan of a team that has, like, an elegant element to it, So I think that's the silver and black has that image here for sure.
And speaking of that era, and that era of when the Kings and everybody started adopting that silver and black, it take me back to the that 30 for 30 as well, right? That where they were like doing what was it called? I know Snoop was in it, and like Ice Cube, and it was that whole like that. It captured really what LA was, right? During the years of the riots, even just during that period of LA where it went through a huge transitional growth and or transition, and that's where I want this kind of the flavor to be. I want people to think about that when they think about this Raiders, and not just I'm gonna get to someone's question because I'm gonna do this early. I never take questions to the end, but because Shane is a co-host of our Hawaii football live stream on Wednesdays at 5, he asked. So I'm gonna start it off with this. Sean, is it still unsafe to wear opposing team gear to a Raiders home game? Asking for a friend. Shrug, emoji face.
It's if you've never been to a game in Oakland, I'm sorry, you may have missed out on that. Even LA was pretty rough. Obviously, the crowd, the traits I talked about, what they're known for, they draw a different type of demographic to the games, right? You don't have people with their sweaters crossed over their shoulders drinking a Cabernet. You have a whole different cycle of people. But I would say, to answer Shane's question, historically, you will get verbally assaulted pretty bad.
Any team, not just like Chiefs or AFC West opponent. Like what if you're like a Buccaneers fan or something and the Raiders game?
Maybe a little bit less, if you're not a rival like a Bronco, Chief, Charger, Seattle's an old rivalry, Pitts. The Raiders have been rivals with everyone, so it depends what era they came from, really. But I have a story. I think it was 2000. The Raiders had a home game in Oakland. They played the Baltimore Ravens. I think the final score was 10-6. It was a boring game, but I believe it was Shannon Sharp or some of these people that coming. They're the family of the opposing players. I mean, they'd be sitting in club boxes, and they would still wear Raider jerseys over their Ravens jerseys or over their team's jerseys just to get through the parking lot and up to. Then they'd take them off and then put them back on to get out of the stadium. So there's a reputation there that they uphold. It is hostile. I would say there's plenty of great people. But there's also, just like every fan base, there's people that take it to a different level. So it is something I caution a lot of people.
It's funny because I think about in LA, just that culture. So LAFC, back to the soccer, LAFC and Galaxy, there's a rivalry. In Carson, I went to go watch a game at their stadium, parking in Carson, wearing my jersey, realizing I'm in Carson, taking my jersey off, just going like skins to the game. Like it's 8 p.m. at night. It's cold. I don't care. I'm like, I'd rather be like without a shirt on than wearing the opposing team's friggin' jersey. But, that is a part of the fun about it as well. Obviously there are fans that take it too far, but the gross majority of fans, they're going to rag. They're going to get on you. But even my experience, even at Oakland Coliseum, last year I went to see the Browns game, I think, when it was Baker's first game. And that was a fun game, overtime game. And, it was a cool, just atmosphere. And I love just looking above because, it's rare to see a stadium just cuts off, right, at that next level. So it's like watching a game from a different era and just that feel. So I'll definitely miss that about Oko. But, that's something, we talk about as well. We talk about just the transitions of the NFL. That's one thing that the Raiders are moving to obviously Las Vegas. That's something we know. But even with all this madness of the move and everything, I'm just going to briefly, obviously we're living in a crazy time of coronavirus. And this is, one of the reasons that we have this stream is because, hey, this is a time where we can stay connected as fans. And we don't know what's going to happen this year. We just don't know. But one of the scenarios that's being thrown out there is having no fans at the games. Do you think that would take away from the game at all? And how would that make you feel, I think, as a fan, and it's particularly of the Raiders?
That takes a lot out of the sport. I mean, someone had tweeted the other day, what do you miss most about sports? And to me, it wasn't even the sport. It's the roar of the crowd, the fans, the bands, all these nostalgic things as a kid growing up. Football, college football Saturdays, and you can hear ESPN, you can hear the bands playing these things. That's the reason they have the sport to begin with, is because of the atmosphere, the experience. So the product of the game I'll love regardless, right? Not every broadcast I watch at home I'm able to hear every fan, but it would be very very strange. It would be very strange. I would watch it. It's Raider content. It's Hawaii football. Whatever my teams, I'm gonna watch them regardless. But it would be very strange when someone makes a big catch for a first down and there's barely any noise.
Or a touchdown.
There's no crowd noise. How do you? I don't know how I'd react to that. Right? I mean, it's just like if no one was there to sing happy birthday for you. Or no
Is it still your birthday if no one's there to acknowledge that it's your birthday?
It's really strange, and it's... Well, and then I kind of look at it for the Raiders. What's weird about this is they're trying to roll out relocation in a brand new city.
Yeah.
So for them, that's a big loss of not just revenue, but establishing season ticket holders and PSLs, and it just kind of makes things linger longer. And it's a really strange environment. Again, we've never experienced this before.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I'm hoping everything levels out for the safety and public health of everybody, but also so maybe who knows? Maybe they only seat someone every 6 seats at a football game. I don't know what they do.
I mean, we talked about that a little bit last night. Was like
a bunch of people with masks on,
go
and enjoy themselves, right?
Well, I think like we already realized too that you really can't. It's hard to listen. It's hard to take in the messages from leadership when there's mixed messages. We'll just use the word leadership and quotations. But like the NFL is all over the country. You can't, if one governor wants to close one state down for a while, like in LA, Garcetti, the mayor, talking about LA is probably not going to have events till next year. It's a possibility. They're not going to, it's highly doubtful they're going to be like, okay, well, we're just not going to play in LA. Like, first of all, other governors, other municipalities will probably adopt the same principle. But, if we can do this to just play, I mean, you don't even have to play in the stadium. You can play on a field, right? If you're only going to have the team there and, and TVs. But the XFL, I go back to that. And, to me, having watched XFL every week on TV, at least a little bit, not a whole game maybe, but at least parts of every game, and going to one game live, I liked going live, as I love experiencing games live. That's what I do, and this is what I do with Hawaii sports fans. But what I loved more about that experience of the NFL, XFL at least, was the viewer experience was so much more really invigorating and very inclusive of the fan experience in terms of letting them listen to who's calling the plays. And I don't know if that's something, to me, I mean, do you think the NFL could ever adopt? I see something like, hey, listening into play calls, like that's like proprietary, like NFL stuff that they don't want shared for the whole world. In the XFL, they're like, we don't care, just whatever gets people happy, which was the best part of the XFL, right? It's like they think about the fans because they know how important it is to have that fan experience. Do you think the NFL? How do you think the NFL would survive? Or how would it be changed? Or how would it stay the same? Or how would it get better, you think, if it just became a viewer-only experience, a television viewer?
That's tough, but I think that if it does go down to viewer-only, they're going to have to enhance the broadcast experience. I mean, you think normally when you join a game, they pan the video through the stadium, they look at the crowds, they show some of the things that happened tailgating earlier. They have, I mean, think about it, they have Goodyear blimps that go over these stadiums. They do flyovers for the military, all these things, some bells and whistles experience. But now people are at home on their couch. They're gonna have to try something different. I don't know what it is, but I think they'll come up with something. But it's gonna have to incorporate a lot more sideline engagement. Maybe they will incorporate. Hey, we'll have a contract in the NFL Players Association where the players are required to do sideline interviews in snippets as they apply or something. Normally we only hear from the coach post-game, halftime, and after the game. Maybe at the end of each quarter, they'll interview the coach, and they'll make that a requirement so we can hear what the insight is, what's going on. But I agree with you. XFL did a good job with that. It's a different product. We know it is. So obviously you want it to look different. So they did their work there as a visual and viewership. But the NFL, if this is what happens, they're going to have to change their marketing strategy to what it's like watching a game. But let's hope it doesn't get there.
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't. But I mean, like you said, and we talked about this before, information just comes every day, so we don't know. So I'm sure this is something we're going to talk about every week, or as long as we keep this going, because we don't know. We're still getting data. The scientists, doctors are still getting data that's 2 weeks old. I mean, that's the newest data. The freshest data is like 2 weeks old. So it's like we're trying to catch up before we can even get a hold of anything. And I think overall it's premature to even talk about like when. I mean, it's like we really don't know anything. But anticipating everything to be normal by this fall is crazy. I think, in my opinion, like there's just so much that has to be done ahead of time. And I would love to see that. I would love to see something just suck up this virus or whatever it takes to get rid of it. But it'll be living with for a while. But as fans, it doesn't matter, right? It goes on, and even if there are no fans in the stands, the Raiders are still gonna have a new quarterback on their roster from Hawaii. So I want to talk about that because what is this? Is this a ninth island thing? Are they trying to claim some of Oahu's people? Is there a new Oahu Raider on the roster now? What's going on, Sean? This is crazy, bro.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I mean, I thought Marcus Mariota was linked to the Raiders a couple months prior to free agency. And if people don't remember, we have two media figures as our general manager Mike Mayock was a media figure, and head coach John Gruden, who left the game for quite a long time, was a big media figure. So they did a lot of draft coverage and things like that. So if you go back and look at how they both evaluated Mariota out of Oregon, they both loved him. They really loved him as an NFL prospect. They loved his skill set. So for me, it just looks like they're trying to give him like a career revolution. They're trying to his benching was a blessing in disguise. He got benched. His play wasn't with it. He was dealing with ailments, upper and lower body, since 2016. And they made him the highest paid backup, guaranteed money in the league. His contract is similar to what Teddy Bridgewater is getting in the Panthers to be a starter. The money is not that far off, at least for the first year of Mariota's contract. So he's coming in with an edge, and I'm so happy to have a player from Hawaii. We don't get too many. Samson Satele, Ashley Lee, Colt Brennan wore a Raider jersey for like 3 preseason games.
That's right, yeah.
Kaluka Mayava.
That's right, Kaluka,
He's from Maui. So we get a little bit here and there, but they don't seem to stick. So I was really excited to get a guy like Marcus on the roster. As we know him, is a great leader. Just no questions about his character, commitment, his toughness. But he's in a good position.
I mean, very excited. We talked about this last year, and you brought it up. He needed to be benched. Tannehill. I don't know what to say about Tannehill, because when I saw him on his second year, they were on Hard Knocks, right? Miami, I think it was his. And I was like kind of impressed with him, like his kind of his demeanor and what he can do. But maybe that the Dolphins just wasn't a good fit. But I mean, damn, the Titans obviously were a great fit for him, or was it him? I don't know. So it's hard to tell whether Marcus just got outshined or because Tannehill was waiting for a position obviously that he could step into and really. It's hard to be that quarterback, right? I mean, ask Derek's brother what it's like coming into a franchise and trying to be built around with really not much else. But if you are Derek and not Derek's brother, what do you think about when you hear that Marcus Mariota is now on your team? What does that make you feel like?
And that's interesting for Derek, because that's probably the most toxic subject in Raider Nation is people who are pro Derek Carr and people who are wanting a change. I'm kind of practical about it, but I think Carr has never had a competitive shadow behind him at the quarterback position. He started his career coming in as a second rounder. The only guy in front of him was Matt Schwab, who was a veteran, and he beat him out in preseason. Since then, there's never been a threat behind him. We drafted Connor Cook in the 3rd round. He's gone out the league. Tyler Wilson, a 3rd round pick. He didn't even make the 53-man roster.
Wow.
I mean, EJ Manuel last year was behind him 2 years ago. Guys like, there just hasn't been anything. But right now, Mariota he has a skill set, and Gruden likes to groom quarterbacks. Gruden's West Coast offense is very friendly to help increase accuracy and take away turnovers, and those are things Mariota struggled with in Tennessee. So I think he's coming in somewhere where, Gruden, he likes the alphas. He always uses that term. He likes the tough guys, and Carr has a lot of apprehensive and conservativeness to him. He doesn't like to extend plays. He doesn't use his body to run. He's very athletic. I mean, Carr can dunk a basketball. He ran a 4.5 something 40. I mean, but he doesn't play like it. He plays timid and a little too cautious at times, and I think that's why they see the way Marcus's ability to run. I mean, if you watch Marcus, he's laid his body out to make blocks for Derrick Henry. I mean, that's part of the reason Mariota gets hurt is he's so tough. He just pushes on. So I think they like that. And because Gruden previously took a more aged quarterback, but a guy that was bounced around in Rich Gannon, and he brought him in and made him into an MVP essentially, and played at a very high level. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Mariota is have a good guy in the wing. So if it's Derek Carr, I know he's a very calm, level-headed person, but he has to feel some sort of pressure now. I mean, he gets the statistics, they look good on paper for Derek, but, you're not scoring touchdowns. I mean, you're moving the ball in between the 20s, but you're not getting in the goal line. You're not, knifing balls where they need to go. So maybe Mariota is there. He's got a rehab and stuff, but it does spell a little bit of concern for Derek, and we'll just have to see. The only good thing for Derek is because of COVID-19, Mariota can't be in the film room.
That's right.
Can't be on the practice field. So his curve to learn the offense and gel with the players and the coaches, his curve is cut even more short.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe week 4, 5, or 6, Mariota's up to speed. And then if Carr is faltering or injured or whatever reason, he can see the field. But I can't wait to see him in silver and black. I think I'm just going to buy his jersey for the heck of it.
Well, you talked about Mariota being, or Gruden liking those tough guys, and that's not Marcus, really, right? I mean, Marcus is one of those guys. He'll put out that block, but is Marcus not the guy that can sit in the black hole? But Marcus is a Raider. But is Marcus the guy that does he fit that grit that we talked about though? That's that Raider mentality. That's even more than just laying it out there. Because Marcus, I don't question him. I don't question any St. Louis quarterback or anybody that any Hawaii quarterback. They're not gonna pull a Cam Newton in the Super Bowl and not make a play. They're gonna do what they need to do on every play. Sometimes on plays that don't really matter, like, bro, it's preseason, like, calm down. But Marcus is one of those guys that, I don't know where he is on the scale of, like, Andrew Luck to, I don't know who's on the extreme end. But, like, where do you think that fits into the overall philosophy about being a Raider, though, the Marcus, his demeanor?
You're right. And when I think of it, Gannon would have verbal tirades on the sidelines with Gruden. I mean, they would argue, and Gannon would, he'd get in his players' faces for dropping a ball. He'd spit and he'd scream and he'd get on that phone and have arguments with the offensive coordinator. He had that. Carr is not like that, and Mariota is not like that. But Mariota brings the element to the field. He'll stiff arm somebody. He'll throw a block. He has that toughness. So hopefully, I think the fans will buy into that side of him. But he's a very nice guy. Marcus is a very nice guy. Personality. He's like a local philanthropist. He's very he's very religiously devout, and he's a good guy, right? So
he is very good guy.
That part, but it's hard to find those. But if you think, as long as you have something to you, I think with Mariota, it's his athleticism that Raider fans will like, because Al Davis always drafted the biggest, tallest, fastest, strongest guys. Even if you weren't the best football player, he wanted that element of seeing something on the field that world-class track speed. They wanted that excitement, that play, and I think you can get some of that with Mariota if he gets up to speed. So that's a good thing. I mean, you think of the most iconic quarterback for the Raiders is probably Kenny the Snake Stabler, who was this kind of country, southern, guy. He'd be out drinking before the games, and he's smoking cigarettes, and he was just had this different elements. So he fit that. But a good guy, a good guy as well. So Marcus will find his edge. I mean, he's lucky the Raiders are in Las Vegas, the ninth island, so he's going to get a lot of support.
So that's the thing, the ninth island having that 808. So we talked about this earlier, is like Hawaii people, how we adopt teams. A lot of people like that were attracted to the Raiders for that grit. They're attracted to the Raiders for those colors. for that, the logo and just for that
Mhm.
attitude. Um,
Mhm.
but as you know, people can be fickle with how they pick their teams, and they can be
Oh yeah.
competitive, and they can be whatever. I know in Hawaii, they're just like plugging in 5 o'clock. We're gonna have our Seahawks stream, and
Mhm.
Sean, the other Sean, who will be hosting that show, he's part of the Seahawkers, a big group. And I guess there's a big. He asked a question about an 808 Raiders group. So is there one in Hawaii? Are is there a way that that people are gonna start? Is there a bandwagon place for these people to sign up, for the ones that are just gonna jump on the Ninth Island train, or what's gonna happen? Or talk to us about like the organization of the Raider Nation in Hawaii, and I guess extending into.
Oh, so it's really relevant. I actually have done some work, not work, but I've been trying to promote a little bit. But there is like 808 Raider Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and I will probably tweet them out after the end of this, so people can know where to
Okay.
contact them. But they print shirts.
Okay. Cool.
They do real community work. Like they'll do Magic Island cleanup and barbecue
Wow.
after. And,
Awesome. Awesome.
they have a schedule to roll out like a calendar of events like a year out, so you can plan. Like they do fishing trips, like camping fishing trips out at
Oh, neat.
White Plains out in the Eva. Yeah, really cool. So and normally about once a year they work with another mainland affiliate, but they brought in Trent Brown last year in April. So after we signed him for the Patriots, so he was here. They hosted like a little
Cool.
party and drinks, and it's just all Raider fans, all Hawaii. It's really unique. But they were supposed to do the same this month with Max Crosby, who had a really good rookie season for us. He was supposed to be at the Pagoda Hotel on their behalf as well. So there is plenty to get involved in here. There's plenty of different little bars, little holes in the walls, different Henry Louis. It's a huge Raider following. There's a dive bar in King Street. I think it's called. I'll tweet that out later when I remember. But there's a little dive bar on King Street, close to. I'm trying to think what it's close to the 76, kind of. But that one's packed with Raider fans. But there's plenty of
King and
interaction.
what?
The
King and
808.
what
What,
street? What's the
what was
cross?
that?
What was
Sorry.
the cross street with King? What were you saying? Sorry. What was the cross street with King?
Oh. So
We're gonna.
it's close to like if you've heard of
Okay.
Wise Sports Bar and Grill. It's
Okay.
close to there. I believe it's called like the Hall or the Corner. It has like a short.
Okay. Okay. Well, there you go. If you are listening and you want to check it out, that might be where we all just check out games now at sports bars, or on our phones or whatever. But hey, I think it's cool when we can see people come together as a fan base, because that's what we like to do at Hawaii Sports Fans too. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we're about, is bringing together fan bases. We travel together. I know you'd like to travel. You like to go to Raiders
Mm-hmm.
games, but one thing about Hawaii people too is the thing they like to do is travel to see other Hawaii players, and two of them. We have two that are kind of being talked about the most, at least on the UH football team. But
Uh,
talk about maybe what the Raiders first of all might be looking for, and if that does that overlap with what UH football may have to offer this year, and what do you think about the prospects of Cole, especially, and I think JoJo is also being talked about a lot. And I know you're a big college football guy, so if there's any sleepers you're talking about, then let's hear them too.
okay, yeah. I mean, for the Raiders for the draft, it's pretty unique. I mean, we shipped out Mari Cooper and Khalil Mack for big trade compensation. I mean, Gruden came in and they're cleaning house. He's getting rid of the previous regime's players. I think there's only 6 players left that were selected by previous GM Reggie McKenzie. Mike Mayock was a first-time GM last year. He did an incredible job with the draft class last year. And this year we're coming back 2 first-round picks. So there's a lot of flexibility to move up, move down, gain more draft capital if they want to move back a little bit. Have a second round pick this year, but clearly the Raiders need they need a star wide receiver. They need a wide receiver one that can play on the outside, that can open up things downfield, that can get yards after the catch. A good possession receiver with
I
like
feel
just
like
lethal
they
speed and ability
had one
to
a
put
few
points.
years ago, but what happened to that guy? And I think it was like talk about 'cause people still, like you said, there's some people still not happy with even the Mac trade, but having Mac and Amari, did
Yeah,
that create holes, or do you think the Raiders were able to fill those holes already? And those are yesterday's news already.
absolutely. Right. I think they created holes. Absolutely. Khalil Mack was a defensive player of the year. I mean, he was setting records all over the field. It's just an absolute dominant player. But for whatever, there's a lot of things I won't get into. But for whatever reason, they saw that they could acquire first-round picks for him and wouldn't be responsible to taking on his massive contract and things like that. So it allowed us to have some ability to wiggle the numbers better in free agency and grab some players. So it doesn't happen overnight when you give up players for picks. You really won't know until down the line. But looking at last year's draft class and this year, this is where they're going to have to show that they did a good job of it. So currently right now they addressed a lot of things in free agency on defense. Positionally, scheme-wise, they got starters. Max Crosby got in the 4th round last year. He had a sensational rookie year. I mean, he was up there with Bosa, who went, in the top 5. So, I mean, we've filled it a little bit, but Cooper we have not. We really have not. We don't have a star wide receiver. We have a fun slot wide receiver. We have a tight end. We have a wide receiver 2 in Tyrell Williams, who's an okay guy, but we need that star impact player. So defenses have to be kept honest. So they got to look at that, and they need to look at another star caliber cornerback. So 2 skill positions I think they need to look at in the 1st round. And in comparison to what Hawaii offers, I don't see much from the prospects we have. I would say, but there are the 3 that I want to talk about from Hawaii that are entering the draft. Obviously, Cole McDonald, who most people have about the 8th to 10th best quarterback in this class, which puts him at mid to later round prospect. But a lot of people say the draft value is very hard. A lot of people, Jelani Tavai, they thought would go in the 5th, 6th round last year.
Yeah.
The team took a flyer on him in the 2nd round, and the Lions got roasted for that. They thought the value, they could have got him later on. How do you know that? You get the player you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jelani Tavai had a very good rookie campaign with the Lions, so good on them. So Cole, potentially something like that could happen. I mean, he's 6'3", 215. He gained about 15 pounds of muscle. He's a lot bigger than when he first started playing.
Yeah.
You see it in his arms and in his body. I mean, he ran the fastest 40 time of all the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Faster than Jalen Hurts.
That was amazing. That was cool to see that.
And he has a...
and that's the thing that you talked about his body. I mean, he was measured there at 6'3" too, so he's a solid. It wasn't like fibbing on the roster kind, we making up height. It was, they did it at the combine. So he clearly has the, those numbers, those what the scouts are looking for. But do you see in him a potential? I see like a Taysom Hall potential there as well. Is that, do you think a route that we could see for him, for Cole?
Cole's potential is hard. I mean, he wasn't a heavily recruited kid out of high school. I mean, if you look at him at the NFL level, I mean, Cole was benched last year. I mean, he was benched. I mean, maybe you can put that on Rolo, but he did play bad for stretches. And Chev came in and played. So it's rare that you have a guy that you think can be a star in the NFL that was just getting benched last year in college football in a smaller conference like we're in. So, but you just never know, right? Josh Allen went to Wyoming. We watched him play. I never thought he was that great.
Yeah,
and
I agree. And he looked great. He looked great at Buffalo. Yeah, he looked really good. And he had some bad games too. But I mean, he's a starter. He's their starter. They're going to build around him. So I think you kind of look at it that way. I think Cole is a guy that needs to get in a good quarterback room with a place where he can wait. Now, if you look at like Patrick Mahomes, he came in behind, behind Alex Smith. And as soon as Andy Reid, who's a quarterback guru, but as soon as he knew Mahomes was ready, he could put him on the field. Maybe Cole gets a chance like that. I mean, it's really hard to say. Look at Gardner Minshew last year with Jacksonville. Yeah.
A 5th round pick, Washington State. He just threw up a bunch of yards.
Yeah.
He earned himself some good potential for his play last year. And maybe Cole gets into a position like that. I wish it for him. I mean, 36-inch vertical, too. I mean, he's an athlete at quarterback.
He's a freak athlete.
And he pull the ball. He can whip the ball. and run. So he offers a lot of dynamic playmaking, which is now becoming more and more trendy to
Yeah.
NFL teams. The Mahomes types, the Russell Wilson types, the Kyler Murray types. I mean, these are the game is it hasn't really changed, but it's more open. Lamar Jackson, right?
Yeah.
So it's starting to invigorate these players that can do things with not only throwing but with running. So hopefully it
I'm
works
looking
out for him.
for
I said
my.
he
I'm
goes like
looking for
50
my.
strong.
Sorry, I'm looking for my bell. I gotta like ding every time you make one of those points, or give you my like Tony Reali point like on around the horn. But I
Oh
totally agree with that.
yeah.
The game has changed. First of all, the game has changed. The game has changed. As a Rams season ticket holder as well, as somebody who takes people to Rams games a lot with white sports fans, the Jared Goff types probably, yeah, those are not, that's not trending right now. But
Correct.
like you talked about as well, with the Raiders positioning themselves with so many high picks and also maybe having some wiggle room or maybe trading those around. I guess we never know. But if Cole gets on a roster, say, and he's quarterback number 3 and sticks to on a preseason team, do you think that might be? You think he makes a roster this year as well? Even if he gets drafted, the chances of him making a roster are pretty high.
I think so. He may have to. He might go. He potentially could go undrafted.
Yeah.
He would be the most sought out undrafted quarterback, but it potentially could happen. But I think he sticks to a roster. His worst case scenario is practice squad. I really think, like I said, with Gardner Minshew and these other kind of stories every year,
Yeah.
and how quarterbacks are exchanged so quickly in the league, they fall off.
Yeah.
I think Cole's a guy that someone's going to like. I think the Jets, Titans, and Eagles, those are the 3 teams that he said
Okay.
in an interview that
Okay.
have contacted him the most. So the Jets have Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
The Titans they just paid Tannehill, but
Yeah.
they don't have a Mariota or anyone behind him. And the Eagles have an injury. They got to monitor Wentz because he's dealt with injuries.
And that's a
So, I
guy,
mean,
actually,
those are 3
talking about
teams.
Wentz, I feel like he's
Right.
the example of guys who, the way they play on the field, they might be throwing blocks, but they might not be thinking about, the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th, hopefully getting to that year in their career if they're throwing those kind of blocks. And, Wentz, I was there when he got hurt. I was in the stadium, and I was like, it was a Rams game, right? So I was there with my cousin Eagle. I was like, bro, your quarterback runs so much. Like, that's one thing about him is like, this isn't North Dakota State anymore. This is the NFL. So, yes, I love the toughness and I love the grit, but I don't want to get hit by any. I wouldn't want to get hit by the smallest NFL guy. I wouldn't want to get hit, and taking any kind of those hits, can shorten a career, but it can also put you up there with the greats. But somebody like. I look at Andrew Luck and the year his career and his legacy now that his career is over. It's like, what is his career? What do we go back toward? What is he going to be remembered for? He was a nice guy and he did everything the right way, but he also ended up having to hang it up early. So it's one of those things that we juggle, but. We're going to go to our last. Sean, did you turn cameras on us? Now you're sideways, bro.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. They kicked me out of the meeting.
Okay, there you are. Now you're back. You're back now. That was funny. I was like, what's going on? There you are. But we're going to wrap it up. We got the draft next week. So I'm not sure if we go on at the same time, which we probably will, where we'll be with the draft and what we can talk about then, but we'll save the rest for that. Looking over the comments, we hit some things. Jamarcus Russell, of course, Shane had to bring that one up. The only thing I remember about Jamarcus Russell is when he was like kneeling down on like throwing the ball off of like one knee and he threw it like 80 yards or something. Yeah. But
that was terrible memories.
For you and this draft time, what do you have any kind of traditions that you do? Do you try and mock up the first round, or what is talk about your excitement as the draft comes to us in just a week?
Yeah, I love the draft. I don't do as much pre-draft as everyone else does with film study. I used to do more, but I have two young kids now, so
Uh-huh.
that takes away. But I love looking at post drafts. So looking at selection of players that the Raiders take. If I don't know a lot about them, I'll dive into their film study. I'll get on YouTube. I'll reach out to other people, and I really want to learn more about them and their character off the field. So because they've essentially become a part of what I'm addicted to, right?
That's right.
My team. So I want to be able to support them. I want to know. Start following them on Instagram or social media, kind of seeing like what kind of person we got,
That's right.
so you can make some kind of connection there. But
Go help
yeah,
them out. Go like look at their history from like when they're junior. Now that they're all children, they can go into like their eighth grade Twitter history and help them
yeah,
tag everything so that they can remove them off their Twitter before ESPN finds it or something.
yeah, that's a true thing
Well,
nowadays.
that's the
That
day
hurts
it
people's
is.
feelings.
But I appreciate you being here, and let's keep doing this. Hopefully, we can build a nice viewership with people who have these common, passionate things that they look forward to every fall. But not only in the fall, we got stuff to talk about the rest of the year, and we hope that those people are the ones we bring. So, we in an hour, in about an hour, we're gonna have our Seahawks broadcast right here on live stream. So come back for that if you're listening. But Sean, let's do this again next week, okay, bro?
Okay.
Alrighty.
Thank you. I had a great time.
Take
All
care,
right, man.
bro. Take you next
Cheers.
week. Aloha.
Okay. Aloha.